Imagine giving everything you have to the world, your soul, your mind, your very sanity, and in return, receiving absolutely nothing. Imagine pouring your deepest, darkest, and most vibrant emotions onto canvas, creating masterpieces that would one day be worth hundreds of millions of dollars, yet living your entire life in poverty, convinced you were an absolute failure. He is remembered today as the quintessential tortured genius, a man whose swirling brushstrokes redefined how we see the night sky, and whose tragic descent into madness culminated in one of the most infamous and gruesome acts in the history of art. But who was the real Vincent? Was he simply a madman who lost his mind to absinthe and isolation? Or was he a profound visionary who felt the world too deeply, ultimately crushed by the weight of his own extraordinary perception? Today, we step into the vibrant, chaotic, and devastatingly beautiful mind of the man who literally lost pieces of himself for art. Long before the vibrant yellows and mesmerizing blues, there was only darkness. Vincent was not a child prodigy. In fact, he failed at almost everything he tried. He was a disastrous art dealer, too brutally honest to sell paintings he despised. He was a spectacular failure as a bookseller. He even tried to become a preacher in an impoverished coal mining region in Belgium, giving away his clothes and sleeping on straw out of profound empathy for the freezing miners. But the church found him too extreme, too intensely passionate, and dismissed him. By the time he was 27 years old, he was a complete outcast, entirely dependent on the financial support of his younger brother. It was then, in the absolute depths of depression, that Vincent picked up a pencil. His early works were grim, heavy, and soaked in the brutal realities of peasant life. He painted dirt, exhaustion, and shadows. There were no bright stars here, only the suffocating darkness of a man desperately searching for purpose. Throughout this agonizing journey, there was only one anchor keeping Vincent tethered to the earth: his younger brother, Theo. Theo was everything Vincent was not. He was a successful art dealer in Paris, stable, respected, and endlessly patient. The brothers exchanged hundreds upon hundreds of letters, creating one of the most intimate and heartbreaking records of an artist's life ever documented. Without Theo's financial support, without his unwavering belief in his brother's genius, there would be no Vincent van Gogh. Theo paid for the canvas, the paint, the food, and the shelter. But more importantly, he offered the only true love and validation Vincent ever knew in a world that constantly rejected him. Then came Paris. In the spring of 1886, Vincent arrived in the art capital of the world, and it was as if someone had suddenly turned on the sun. He was introduced to the Impressionists. Suddenly, the muddy browns and blacks of his Dutch years vanished. Vincent became completely obsessed with color. He began to paint with an urgency that terrified those around him. He consumed vast quantities of absinthe, the infamous green fairy which fueled his manic, boundless energy. He was no longer just painting what he saw, he was painting what he felt. He applied paint directly from the tube, using thick, aggressive, three-dimensional strokes that seemed to vibrate and pulse on the canvas. He was painting at a furious pace, sometimes finishing an entire masterpiece in a single day. But Paris was noisy, exhausting, and expensive. His mind, always incredibly fragile, began to crack under the sensory overload. He needed space. He needed the sun. He fled south to Arles, a quiet town in Provence bathed in intense, blinding light. This was to be his sanctuary. He rented the famous Yellow House, dreaming of establishing a utopian colony of artists, a brotherhood of painters who would live and work together in harmony. He painted sunflowers, wheat fields, and blazing sunsets with a frantic, feverish joy. His colors reached a piercing, almost hallucinatory intensity. He finally convinced his friend, the arrogant and brilliant Paul Gauguin, to join him. For a brief moment, the dream was alive. But two volatile, explosive personalities trapped in a small house was a recipe for absolute disaster. They argued endlessly about art, life, and money. The tension grew unbearable. The air in the Yellow House grew thick with paranoia, jealousy, and resentment. December 23rd, 1888. The night the legend was born. The exact details have been debated for over a century, but the bloody result is indisputable. Following a vicious argument where Gauguin threatened to leave forever, Vincent's mind finally snapped. The voices in his head grew deafening. In a state of absolute delirium, he took a razor blade. He did not just nick his ear, he severed the entire lower half of his left ear. Bleeding profusely, wrapping his head in dirty rags, he walked through the freezing night streets of Arles and handed his own severed flesh, wrapped in paper, to a woman at a local brothel. The police found him the next morning, unconscious and near death in a pool of his own blood. The dream of the artist colony was dead. The frightened townspeople of Arles turned against him, signing a petition to have the mad, red-headed painter locked away for good. Medical experts have debated his diagnosis ever since. Was it bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, temporal lobe epilepsy? Or perhaps it was something brought on by his own artistic process. Vincent was known to suck on his paintbrushes, ingesting toxic amounts of lead. He drank heavily. Some believe the excessive consumption of digitalis, prescribed by his doctor, caused him to see the world with a heavy yellow tint, a visual condition known as xanthopsia. This might explain why his later paintings are completely saturated in those brilliant, blinding shades of yellow. His mysterious illness was both his greatest enemy and his most profound muse. Realizing he could no longer trust his own mind, Vincent voluntarily committed himself to an asylum in Saint-Rémy. He was a prisoner of his own brain, terrified of the violent seizures and horrifying hallucinations that would strike without warning, leaving him incapacitated for weeks. Yet it was here, looking out through the iron bars of his cell window, that he created his ultimate masterpiece. He looked at the night sky and saw something no one else had ever seen. He didn't see static dots of light. He saw immense, swirling cosmic energy. He painted the starry night. The sky is a turbulent, rolling ocean of blue and gold, completely dwarfing the quiet, sleeping village below. It is a painting of immense isolation, but also of profound spiritual connection. It is the visual record of a beautiful mind operating on a frequency the rest of the world could simply not tune into. In May of 1890, Vincent left the asylum and moved to Auvers-sur-Oise near Paris to be closer to Theo. The manic energy returned with a vengeance. He painted 70 works in exactly 70 days, a painting a day. But the loneliness was completely crushing. The financial burden he placed on his brother, who now had a wife and a newborn child, ate away at Vincent's conscience. His final paintings, particularly Wheatfield with Crows, are terrifyingly bleak. The sky is violently dark, the path leads nowhere, and the black birds fly ominously toward the viewer. Then came July 27th. He walked into the wheat fields with a revolver. Or did he? The official story is suicide, a gunshot to the chest, but modern historians have raised a chilling alternative. Did two local teenage boys, who had a history of tormenting the strange, fragile artist, accidentally shoot him while playing with a malfunctioning gun? Did Vincent, welcoming death and wanting to protect the boys from prison, simply claim he shot himself? We may never know the absolute truth. He stumbled back to his small room and agonizingly lingered for 2 days, smoking his pipe in bed. His beloved brother Theo rushed to his side. As Theo held him, Vincent's final words were spoken in quiet, devastating resignation. The sadness will last forever. Vincent passed away at the age of 37. He had sold only one painting in his entire lifetime. He died believing his life's work was completely worthless, a burden to the only person who ever loved him. Theo, completely broken by the loss, died just 6 months later, and the brothers were buried side by side. Yet within a few decades, Vincent's vibrant, agonizing, brilliant soul would captivate the entire globe. He didn't just paint the world. He painted his own suffering, his own joy, and his own raw, bleeding heart, leaving it all on the canvas for us to find. He was the man who lost his head for art, so that the rest of the world might finally see the true colors of the universe.